if I were to sum up what we saw, right? That's the big question. If I were to sum up what we saw in one word, boy, that would be really hard. Because I do think that people would go to the disappointing, right? They'd be like, oh, it's disappointing. I think you would hear some of that. I think you would hear, something about Tom Brady, because that's what it's become about, right? Everything has become about Brady. There's a whole other football game out there, football world out there, and we're only talking about Tom Brady. If I were to do all of those things, I'm thinking to myself, how would I sum it up in one word? Oh, what would I? Let me think about that for a second. We have a tendency in my business to simplify things, right? To try and simplify things. And we like to give credit and sometimes like to give blame. But we love to give credit, and rightfully so. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl. 7th Super Bowl. Here's Brady after the game.
Really all year we believed in ourselves. Our coaches believed in us. We believed in ourselves. And again, we were going up against a great team tonight, and just happy we got the job done.
The easy way to talk about this team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is to say, hey, they got hot. They figured it out after their late bye week, and they were the hotter team. Kansas City was maybe the better team, but they were hot and they wanted it more, and they had Brady. That's the easy way to say it. When the truth is a little bit more complicated. First, like Tampa's last 4 games that they won after the bye week were against 4 bad football teams. So they had 3 games really, and maybe a 4th really, to get everything right. Instead of, they didn't have a preseason and they had so many new pieces, they got 4 things to kind of get it right. The second part is when they got to the playoffs, they kind of had a bye week 1, and that game was actually competitive. In many ways, there was a time it was more competitive late than the Super Bowl was. The difference is in the Super Bowl, you got Mahomes, so you think anything is possible. The matchup, because of the injuries to the Chiefs, favored Tampa. But then the last part is this. Kansas City, they did the old football coach thing. They did what they do, right? We do what we do, and we make other people adjust. And guess what? They got their asses beat. I thought it was a coaching debacle from Kansas City. Look, there's no way you can double, pass rushers on every snap. You got to be reasonable. You got to understand, and that Kansas City is not wired to be a power running team. They hadn't been able to run the football that well when they were healthy. Hey, and you're missing 3 offensive linemen. You're going to struggle. But at any point in the game, there wasn't an adjustment made to, hey, we got to protect Pat Mahomes. Because if we protect him and he sets his feet, he'll get his balance, he'll get his rhythm, he'll catch his breath. Now, some of this is also the fact that they'd fallen behind in all 3 playoff games last year, and they hadn't played terribly well or terribly sharp offensively for many parts this year. And we'd all dismissed it because Mahomes had bailed him out. But what happens when everything doesn't go your way and you're trying to come back? You can't bail anybody out. Now, while I will crush Andy Reid for the fact that they did not prepare properly for what all of us thought, everybody thought it'd be an issue. You're missing your 2 bookend tackles. So it wasn't that they were missing guys. It was that, how do you not have a tight end in there to chip, a running back in there to chip, line an extra guy over there and lessen the pressure and put fewer guys, change what you're running so that so Mahomes can have time. And they didn't do that. Now, as much as I will criticize him for that, on the other hand, you have people saying, well, he calls timeout at the end of the first half. Here's the problem with with fanboys. Fanboys want you to be aggressive, but one, only when it works, and two, only when you had the football. Tampa was trying to run the clock at the end of the first half because they didn't know if they could score, and they wanted to bleed out the timeouts from Kansas City in case Kansas City got the ball back, and Kansas City wanted to get the ball back, and so yeah, they took a chance. They called 3 timeouts, and it ended up being a Tampa touchdown. The officiating was tight, but Kansas City didn't adjust. Tampa dominated on the offensive line of Kansas City, but Kansas City didn't adjust. And Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl, and he was good. He was good. Was it the greatest virtuoso performance? No, but you know what? Here's the big takeaway from Tom Brady's Super Bowl win. And I said this last year, okay? Or 2 years ago I said this when he won the Super Bowl, and I believe it to be true to this very day. That the mistake that so many people in my position, in other people's position on TV and radio, what they make is they make Super Bowls about stats and championships only, and this just more about kind of the facts and figures. And Tom Brady is not the best quarterback when it comes down to making throws. You'll hear people say, well, he didn't play well in this game, and he didn't play well in that game. But being a quarterback is more than just how you play on the field. Okay? How do you prepare? How do you handle adversity? But more than anything, can you get everybody in that locker room to believe in you? And if you look around, okay, between Leonard Fournette and AB and Rob Gronkowski, and really all of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the best attribute Brady brings is belief. And you cannot buy that. You cannot sell that. It's one thing to have confidence in yourself, but to be able to instantly, when you hit the ground, when you're in a uniform, that people think, well, that guy's a winner, we're going to figure it out. Right? We're going to figure it out. I've heard people, well, Antonio Brown was available. No, he wasn't. He only wanted to play with one guy. Rob Gronkowski could have been in New England. No, he didn't. He only wanted to play with one guy. Right? Leonard Fournette was out in the street, got cut by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He wanted to play with one guy. Because all of those guys grew up watching Tom Brady win. He's still winning, and they want a piece of that because they know it changes their career trajectory and post-career trajectory, as well as they have confidence in his ability to lead them. So some of that is the Patriot way becoming the Brady way. Some of that is just the magic to Tom Brady. If you were starting a football team and you said, who's a better thrower of the football, who's more athletic, who's got more pop, who can do more things, Pat Mahomes, 10 times in 10, it's not close. And in terms of skill set last night, even though he was constantly under duress, you'd probably still take Pat Mahomes. But that's not necessarily what makes you the greatest quarterback of all time. And it's not just about the remarkable number of wins they've been able, because some of that is his defense. Some of that is his coaching staff. But the ability to get everybody to believe, to buy in, to lock in, and to pull in the right direction, that's where the magic is. That's the essence of Brady. So last week, I offered up that I think Tom Brady, you win a Super Bowl in your home stadium for a team other than the New England Patriots, who you play for your entire career. Like, you cannot get any higher on the mountaintop. You should walk away. This is Brady with Jim Nantz at the trophy presentation talking about next season.
They started off about this big, and now look at them. So I'm trying to stop the little clock right now, but it'd be nice to celebrate with them, too.
And there's more to come, right, Tom? There's more to come as far as football.
Yeah, we're coming back.
We're coming
You
back.
already know that.
So first of all, I'm not really, it wasn't really a question from Nance. Like, yes, put me in a real spot there, Jim. But So he's coming back. And look, part of it is, and this is really important, I don't take myself so seriously that like my advice should get into his ear or he should care what I think. It was more just a logical of, man, it never seems to end well. Even Peyton Manning, who won as a Super Bowl champion, okay? Peyton Manning won as a Super Bowl champion, but if you remember, he got, do the quotation things with your fingers, injured, and they had to start Brock Osweiler. And one of the things that made Brock Osweiler mad, leave Denver for $1 million more, was the fact that they did, in fact, start Peyton Manning in the playoffs, and they won a Super Bowl, even though his arm was just shot by that time in his career. I'm going to say first of all, there's something going on there, right? Like there's just no way in which you can see the videos from earlier in his career and go like, yeah, well, he's eating better now, so that's why he looks younger, better. His hair is good. His skin is unbelievable. His teeth, obviously, he got those at least lightened, if not something else going on there. Whatever. The guy looks amazing. But I don't think he got hit last night. And Mike Evans came out yesterday and said, hey, use some of my money, keep this group together. I don't know, Fournette, obviously they signed for nothing. You can get running backs for cheap. You can get guys who want to play with Brady, think they can play with Brady for cheap. There is I don't agree. I don't think this is anywhere close to the LeBron thing, right? Because what's weird about Brady is in the middle of his career when he's at his peak athletic ability, when he threw 50 touchdown passes, those years, they didn't win a championship. Now everything is mental game and making everybody believe, and he still has a good arm and he's still athletic in the pocket. Like, watch his feet and play action. He has great feet for any quarterback, let alone one 43 years old. He's not a great, he wouldn't beat anybody in a 40-yard dash, but you don't have to run a 40-yard dash when you're quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Anyway, last week I said this is the time to hang them up, and there's a lot of things that went in their favor. Some will go in their favor next year in terms of schedule, and I don't think their division is going to be particularly good. Like New Orleans replacing Breeze could be better, but could be worse. Carolina's still not there yet, and Atlanta's in rebuild mode. So there's some other things going for them, and they still haven't really played a home game in front of home fans. And there's nothing like leading a team. And now you're like a mythological creature. Now there's no one should be able to tell him anything. He's literally won 7 Super Bowls, been in 10. He's a creation of Greek mythology now. It can be snowing outside and he can go, you know what, it's sunny. And everybody inside be like, it's sunny. Why? Tom Brady said so. I don't care what it means. So, considering they did a good enough job to where there was no grass on the back of his jersey, considering what they've invested in the offensive line, I think they'll continue to invest in the offensive side of the football. I don't think it's crazy to come back. You come back one more year, win it again. The only buyer beware thing is we have seen this from other expatriate players. When they leave, they have one really good year, and then the next year they fall off a cliff. That's synonymous with most every other former Patriot players. Trent Dilfer joins us, Super Bowl champion quarterback. Okay, I have a lot to get to, and the thing that I love to do with you that I don't know if you do other places is actually talk about the game itself. It felt like Kansas City. I thought knew there was going to be an issue there blocking. Right, Green Bay couldn't block them. They didn't have Bakhtiari. And, Aaron Rodgers had guys in his face most of the day. It felt like there wasn't a proper plan to protect Pat Mahomes and that Kansas City, we're just going to do what we do and they're going to adjust. Am I crazy to have that as my analysis?
No, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think Kansas City went in offensively with the idea of RPOing and throwing perimeter screens to kind of slow down the pass rush, which is a very typical West Coast philosophy to neutralize pass rush and works very often. I think where it went haywire for him early was Todd Bowles and this Tampa defense knew that that's what they were going to do. So they, and I'll get to this later, but Tampa really reconstructed their defense for this game. So not only were they prepared for Kansas City's answers, they were giving Patrick pictures he hadn't seen, and that there's no way Kansas City could have prepared for because it was so out of character for what Todd Bowles had done with this defense all season long. And we can dive deeper into that. But, Kansas City.
Tell me what you mean. Tell me what you mean.
Okay, so Todd Bowles is a pressure guy. He is a safety, get safeties involved in bracket coverage in the run game guy. He's a lot of man coverage guy with those unique looks he gives you. They changed their front up a little bit. They lightened the box, and they played as deep as I've ever seen one of his defenses play in the secondary. They changed kind of what we call the insert person. So they lined up in a real high 3 shell, a real high 2 shell, and then dropped an insert player to be a late run defender, but handle crossing routes, grab the tight end over the middle, and handle a lot of the RPO screen stuff that they wouldn't be accounted for. So they trusted that a front 6 really could stop Kansas City's run game. And they were also banking on Andy Reid's history, which is he's going to abandon the run game. He wants to throw the ball more than he runs it. So it was almost the old Belichickian way of saying, I dare you to run it 28 times in the A and B gaps this game. I know your DNA won't let you do that, so we're going to build a defense around your DNA, which is you want to throw the ball, so we're going to build these very sound, flooded defensive pass coverage concepts to disrupt what you want to do in the passing game. And no matter what, we're not going to let Tyreek Hill get vertical on us. Just no matter what, we're going to have a deeper guy than him on every single play.
Okay, so late in the year, though, you said Andy will figure out he'll start running the football, and they never they never really did.
I was wrong. I thought that'd be the perfect way to go into this game. Just to everybody talked about how Tampa needed to hold the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. I think Kansas City should have had the same philosophy. Let's matriculate the ball down the field. Let's keep 12 off the field. There's a reason why he's been in 10 of these things. Let's keep him off the field. Let's keep our offense on the field. I thought an inside run game, a nice play action game would be a good approach to this game for Kansas City. I thought that they would evolve into that through the playoffs. You notice when they did run the ball, they ran it really effectively. They just didn't run it very often early in the game before the game got out of reach. So I think Kansas City panicked a little bit. I think you got to give Tampa a ton of credit for how they approached this matchup, how they scouted Kansas City, how they were able to teach their players in a short amount of time some new stuff. And then I think Kansas City didn't have a counter to it.
Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. Okay, what about Brady? How did he play? What did you think of what they did offensively?
He was great. He was surgical as usual. I think the most praise, though, goes to Bruce and Byron Leftwich, kind of, again, going away from their DNA. I mean, this is a staff that, for history, they go into their meetings, say, we're going to take 8 to 10 shots. Like, no, what is it? No risk it, no biscuit.
No biscuit, yeah.
Like they're going to be highly aggressive, and they were so patient. I mean, they were so patient in the run game. Play action pass off of it. Nice little new college wrinkles, kind of RPOs. This is one of the first time I've seen Tom Brady RPO where they're faking inside zone and the tight ends coming across the formation. They hit it for a touchdown, then they hit Brate late in the game for like a 10, 12-yard gain. I thought they had a really good quick game plan, getting Gronk in the flat and kind of double picking the outside guys. The RPO in the middle of the field where they faked kind of what we call duo, which is an inside run to a 2 tight end look, and Gronk comes up and stutters the backer, then goes in the middle like on a pop pass. Like, it was really creative, patient, low risk stuff. They didn't take very many shots. I mean, they took the shot when the game was out of reach on 3rd and 5. I think they took one other shot early, but really this was about holding the football, controlling the clock, establishing a physical dominance, C-to-C gap, and then trusting that Brady would make plays on enough third, mediums, third, and shorts to convert the chains. Now, they had some help with penalties. I agree with everybody that's saying the refs got too involved in the game early, but it allowed them to keep doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah, well, the only penalty I had a big issue with was the Chris Jones one, where it's a Super Bowl, they're jawing back and forth. I mean, it wasn't like he took his helmet off and swung it at him. I get that it's an automatic. Now, you played in the Super Bowl. I thought Super Bowls were ones which nobody threw any flags, especially in the defensive backfield.
Yes, and that's what I expected. I also think there's another interesting dynamic, and I'd be curious to talk to other football people about this. I've never really asked one of my mentors about this. It seems like when both teams are playing an aggressive format of secondary play, so both teams are playing bump and run, rerouting the inside, getting hands on the tight end, getting away with some business in the secondary, that penalties don't get thrown because it's happening on both sides. Tampa had almost no rerouting, no hands on players, soft passive zones, dropping backwards, eyes on the quarterback. And Kansas City came up and wanted to challenge people. And it almost seemed like, well, Kansas City's going to play this way. We're going to throw flags on them because Tampa's not playing this way. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I've kind of seen a pattern that way over the years that both teams are super aggressive in the secondary. You're not going to get flags. If one team is and one team isn't, the only team that's being aggressive is going to get flagged.
If you were Brady, would you walk away?
No, because he doesn't do it for this. I mean, I think that's his magic, is that he loves it so much. It's part of the core of who he is. His family's bought into it. He's passionate about it still. I think it just fuels who he is as a human being. I think his body will tell him when he's done, and obviously based on the season and last night, his body isn't saying no anymore.
Yeah, I also think he wasn't hit last night either.
Nope.
He didn't have any grass in the back of his jersey.
Nope.
Pretty.
I know that because I was wearing my white number 12 jersey while I was watching the game, and I didn't have any grass on the back of mine either.
Trent Dilfer joining us. For a guy who is a former Buccaneer, what is that? What's it like to? I mean, they've only played in two. They've won two. You were part of neither of those, but pretty remarkable. Here's what I started with. Okay, I believe Pat Mahomes is better, and I want to get to Mahomes in a second. I know Pat Mahomes is better. Aaron Rodgers is better. Russell Wilson's probably better right now in terms of their skills, their athletic skill set right now. To Brady. Now Brady is his footwork and athleticism on play action for anybody's age is really, really good. Like he moves well back there. He's just not he just doesn't move the pocket, right? Run anywhere. But what he's been able to do, it's almost like he's a mythological character in that everybody just thinks he's going to win. And so now you got Antonio Brown's like, I don't have many stops left, but I'll just follow that guy because I'm going to win. Gronk's only playing with him. You kind of create Leonard Fournette's like, dude, I'm going to go join a winner. And even if there's some dysfunctionality early on between Tampa and Brady, ultimately you go like, look, the guys, and it becomes like a thing. It becomes kind of a mentality that teams take on. Am I crazy to think like this is almost mythological status, what he has, the effect he has on people right now?
No, I don't think that's crazy at all. The term I've used for years, and I stole from Steve Young, is there's just a moral authority that goes with that locker room now, and there's a gravitational force that's going to bring people to Tampa to play with Tom Brady because they know he's going to make them better. I think one of the myths in the NFL is players don't want to get better. Players want to go to Pro Bowls. They want to get their incentives. They want to be great players. They want to be on the cover of video games. They want to be talked about. And to do that, they need to get better. The great players keep getting better every single year, and they know that Tom's going to make them better. I mean, he got Antonio Brown back in the league, making money again. I didn't see a single issue with Antonio Brown this season. Pulled Gronk out of retirement. I mean, I think those commercials, their T-Mobile commercials are classic. He got Gronk off the couch in Florida. He just has this ability to make people want to come there because they know they're going to have a better chance of reaching their potential and probably play in the last game of the season. No, I don't. I think that is mythological. I think it's incredible. I think you can't, at least I can't articulate the impact he's had on the game and the impact he has on his teams. And how I sent out something before the game. I think his greatest gift, more than throwing a football, more than reading defenses and all that, is making those around him better. And I've always said that's the ultimate job of the quarterback, is do you make everybody in the building better by how you handle your business, by how you play the game. Those of us that didn't do that feel it later on. You're like, God, I had a great chance to make everybody better, and I didn't. Tom's been doing it for 20-plus years.
Trent Dilfer, of course, Super Bowl champion quarterback, joining us in the Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. It's hard when you're Mahomes and you're under duress and your coaches don't establish a run game and probably didn't leave enough protection for him. But as you said, they gave him some looks. You know, they put questions on the test that weren't in the study guide, right? That's really kind of what it feels like. How much of their lack, they didn't score a touchdown, is on him?
Oh, he's culpable. He played frenetically. He didn't trust the protection when it was there, and it's hard to do. When you have 2 weeks to realize that you're probably going to have a hard time protecting. It's really hard to then trust your protection. So I get it, but it doesn't excuse it. I mean, there were times when he just started running around and spinning and doing that when he didn't have to.
Yeah.
I think he was too aggressive with his eyes early on in the game. His eyes were downfield. And there's people wide open underneath. I can think of one where he threw down the left boundary to the back, and I think it's Kelsey's crossing with nobody within 6-7 yards of him. So yeah, he made his mistakes. I think once the game got away from him, it just added to it. Yeah, and I don't think he got much help. I think the play calling, that's one of the things a play caller can do, is when he senses his players getting out over their skis a little bit. It happens to everybody. I go back, Norv Turner was great at this. Mike Holmgren was the best with Favre, right? So Mike Holmgren had Brett Favre, absolute gunslinger, would just go off the rails and just start ripping fireballs all over the field. And then Mike knew what play calls to bring him back, to center him, to press the reset button. I think the run game is really important for that reason. I think that's why you hear all of us crotchety old ex-football players always talking about the run game, because the run game's a great neutralizer, not just for the offense, but for the quarterback. Sometimes you need 3 plays where you don't have to think and you just turn around and hand it off. I did not think he got a lot of help that way. They have this one base concept. It's kind of a double mesh concept. A lot of teams are running. It's a really, really, really good passing concept. That's usually, you go to one of your base pass concepts when you see the quarterback struggling, and they called it 6-7 times last night. So they were trying to in the passing game, but there was nothing in the run action game just to kind of clean it up for him, make it simple for him. Even the best need times in the game where it's just simple. It's pick and stick. Hey, that guy's going to be open because of how we lined up. I'm going to put the ball in the belly and throw a 8-yard route to Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's not that complicated. There was none of that.
Sounds like they let him down, and sounds like they let him down, and it sounds like he also, we all have bad habits, and they get exposed at times during times of duress, right? And when you hit adversity, and not seeing that as a coach, I think is a big thing. Also, not having a quarterback there, one of the reasons that quarterbacks are head coaches or our play callers is they can sense it, and they can feel it, and they know what they have to do. But it's also that was a little bit of Texas Tech Mahomes there too, with the running around when you didn't have to, right? And the footwork gets bad and the funnels. He kind of broke down, which does happen. It happens, as you point out. It happens to the best of them. Hey, Brady against Atlanta was terrible the first 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters. He was as bad, and then they got the ball, they scored. He got his composure. They got a turnover, and the rest is history. So it does in fact happen. Which team is more? Go ahead.
Sorry, I think 2 things can be happening at the same time. You can say Patrick Mahomes is incredible, the greatest athlete playing quarterback, does things we haven't, whatever you want to say about him. And at the same time, you can say he had a stinker on Super Bowl Sunday. You're not saying he's not great.
Right.
You're not saying he's not going to be back there next year. You're not saying anything negative about him, except the reality is he had a stinker on Super Bowl Sunday. He's not the first. He won't be the last.
Awesome stuff, Trent. All right, no more football games. We'll see if you
know.
can get that. We can see if you can get Jason Witten to schedule that high school game. With his
We're
new high school
trying,
team.
and then I just saw Jeremy Macklin, the ex-receiver, just took a high school job too.
That dude
All
was
of us old
fast.
farts are taking high school jobs.
Yeah, well, he's a I even in his retirement, he's still probably fast, right? He tore his ACL like twice, and he still had speed. So
He was so fast.
Oh my God, he's one of those just absolute burners, absolute burners. Trent, great stuff, dude. Thanks for joining us.
All right, brother. See you. Bye.
The one and only Trent Dilfer joining us. Doug Gottlieb Show live from the Farmers Insurance Fox Sports Radio studios. Call Farmers today for a quote.